2,000 years ago, in a small region of the Roman Empire, a man began teaching ideas so profound, so countercultural, that they reshaped human history. Today, he's known by billions as Jesus of Nazareth, the central figure of Christianity and one of the most influential teachers the world has ever known. But his teachings go beyond religion. They challenge individuals to reconsider how they live, how they treat others, and how they view themselves in relation to the world. They've inspired empires, movements for social justice, and personal transformations. So, what exactly are the teachings of Jesus, and why do they hold such immense power? At the heart of Jesus' teachings is a call to love, love that is radical, unconditional, and transformative. One of his most famous statements encapsulates this: "Love your neighbor as yourself," Mark 12:31. In a world often marked by conflict, division, and tribalism, Jesus proposed a vision of community based on empathy and care. But he didn't stop there. He took the concept of love further, instructing his followers to love even their enemies. "Love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you," Matthew 5:44. To Jesus, love wasn't just a passive emotion. It was an active choice, a way of living that broke down barriers and sought reconciliation. This radical love extended into how Jesus saw the poor, the vulnerable, and the outcast. In his time, society was rigidly divided by class and status. Yet Jesus consistently prioritized the marginalized. He famously declared, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," Matthew 5:3. The teachings recorded in the Sermon on the Mount, one of his most famous discourses, flipped the world's values upside down. Instead of praising wealth, power, and pride, Jesus celebrated humility, mercy, and inner peace. He showed compassion to lepers, spoke with women and foreigners who were shunned by society, and taught that these individuals, the forgotten ones, were integral to the vision of God's kingdom. Another core aspect of Jesus' teachings is forgiveness, a concept so central to his message that it defined much of his ministry. In an extraordinary interaction, Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, asked, "How many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus replied, "Not 7 times, but 77 times, Matthew 18:21-22. Forgiveness, according to Jesus, isn't limited by a numerical count. It's a continual, freeing act, one that mirrors the forgiveness that God offers humanity. His emphasis on forgiveness challenged an era of strict justice and retribution, encouraging people to break cycles of vengeance and bitterness by seeking reconciliation. Then there's humility, a lesson subtly woven through Jesus' life and teachings. Though he was revered by many, Jesus never sought personal glory. Instead, he demonstrated a different kind of leadership, often serving others. In one striking example, he washed the feet of his disciples, an act typically reserved for servants. He told them, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you," John 13:15. Through actions like this, Jesus taught that true greatness isn't found in dominance or control, but in service to others. It's a concept that still challenges the hierarchical systems of modern society. Faith is another pillar of Jesus' teachings. Over and over he urged people to trust in God, even in difficult circumstances. In the Gospel of Matthew, he compared faith to a mustard seed, tiny in size, yet capable of growing into a towering tree. His teachings about faith often intersected with themes of courage and persistence, reminding people that they could overcome fear and despair if they held on to hope. During a storm, when his disciples were terrified, Jesus calmed the waters and asked them, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Mark 4:40. For Jesus, faith wasn't just about belief. It was about trust, resilience, and the ability to rise above fear. And then there were parables, stories that carried deep truths within them. Jesus often taught in parables, weaving profound principles into simple stories that his listeners could relate to. Take, for example, the parable of the Good Samaritan, where he tells of a man beaten and left for dead on the roadside. While religious figures pass by without helping, a Samaritan, a person despised by the Jews of that time, shows compassion and cares for the man. The story drives home the point that love and kindness transcend cultural, religious, or ethnic boundaries. Another parable, the lost sheep, reveals the relentless and personal nature of God's love, describing a shepherd who leaves 99 sheep to find the one that's missing. These stories not only addressed spiritual ideas, but spoke to deeper human longings and moral questions that remain relevant today. The teachings of Jesus weren't just philosophical musings, they were tied to action. He repeatedly challenged listeners to live out his words. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Luke 6:31, known widely as the Golden Rule, is one such example. Beyond mere sentiment, this principle invites people to shape their interactions with fairness, empathy, and generosity. Over time, these teachings spread across the world, carried by early followers of Jesus who believed his message was meant for everyone, not just the people of Judea. His ideas shaped the moral foundation of Western civilization, profoundly influencing art, literature, law, and ethics. Even today, people of diverse backgrounds, Christian and non-Christian alike, find wisdom in his words. They resonate with those seeking guidance in personal relationships, community building, social justice, or spiritual growth. Of course, the teachings of Jesus didn't exist in isolation. They were accompanied by his actions, his miracles, and ultimately his sacrifice. Many believe his crucifixion was the ultimate demonstration of love and forgiveness, while his resurrection offered hope and faith to his followers. Whether one views Jesus as a religious savior or a remarkable historical figure, his teachings distill timeless truths that invite reflection on what it means to live a meaningful, compassionate life. So why do Jesus' teachings endure? Perhaps it's because they speak to universal human experiences: love, conflict, fear, and hope. They challenge us to transcend our limits, to forgive when it seems impossible, to care for those we'd rather ignore, to stay humble in success, and to trust in the face of uncertainty. They aren't always easy, but in their difficulty lies their transformative power. In the end, the teachings of Jesus invite us to ask profound questions. How can we love more deeply, forgive more freely, serve more humbly, and believe more courageously? These questions have remained with humanity for millennia, shaping the lives of individuals and societies alike. And as long as people continue to wrestle with these questions, the teachings of Jesus will remain as compelling and relevant as ever.